For a child has been born for us, the gift of a son for us. He'll take over the running of the world. His names will be Amazing Counselor, Strong God, Eternal Father, Prince of Wholeness.
One of the interesting things in our yearly pageantry around both Advent and Lent is when we actually read the scriptures that are so popular at that time of year, when we read them in context, they sometimes read very differently. We've been learning this on Wednesday nights in our Bible study, whether we are in the Gospel of John like we are now, and in any passage of scripture, whenever it quotes the Jewish Testament, we always turn back to see like what was the actual context of that, whether it was in the Psalms or Amos or Isaiah or Daniel. And we're often shocked by the context around it, that it doesn't exactly mean what we thought it was. And in this passage that Kathy read, or that Kelly read for us, in Isaiah 9, we like the part, for unto us a son is born, unto us a son is given. We like that part. The part before it, we don't like so much. The burning for days, like that part, let's skip that part. Let's get to the good part, right? And so one of the things I want to talk about, oh, by the way, if you are in the sanctuary today, if you're a type of person who likes sermon notes, they are on your coffee tables around the space. There are these pink sheets of paper if you're the type of person who likes to follow along with stuff like that. I've been reflecting a lot recently about how the last 2 years, maybe even the last 4 years, has changed us as individuals, as families, as a congregation, as a nation, as a country. And I've been troubled, I should say, by the fact that these yearly pageants that we do in Advent for Christmas and in Lent for Easter, that we say the same thing year after year, which is beautiful. I think it's awesome for us to rehearse that as a people, that we are given this script, right? We've inherited this thing, and there's a givenness to it. And so we have received these, and we rehearse them faithfully every year. But sometimes, have you ever had the situation where you can say the same thing that you said before, only it doesn't mean the same thing it did before? It's the same words, but something's changed. You've changed. The time has changed. The situation has changed. You're saying the same words, but they sound different. They read different. And I've been really stirred in the last couple of years, both in the George Floyd protests, the Black Lives Matter movement, COVID conspiracies, mask mandates, the supply chain, our medical situation with our emergency rooms. I've been really troubled that so much of Christian talk, specifically in the mainline tradition, is about peace. And I know that peace is a good thing. And this time of year, we read, the Prince of Peace, right? It's sort of one of our big themes. And the second week of Advent is always about peace. We start every service, we used to, by saying, peace be with you, and also with you. It's like one of our major things. And yet, I wonder if we're the type of people who would know what to do if we got what we said we wanted. Not just as Christians, not just as a congregation, as a society. I wonder, this is what's been troubling me, I wonder what would happen if we actually got what we said we wanted. So whether we won the lottery and we were suddenly rich, or we got the relationship that we said we wanted when we were single, or we got the job that we said we wanted when we had a different job, or we won the election that we were so fearful would go the other way. What happens when the dog catches the car, I guess is what I'm asking. Hollywood can betray us sometimes, because Hollywood has the luxury to end the story on the high note. And so whether it's the kiss at the end where they get together, whether it is victory, whether it is revolution, whatever it is, the journey ends and the film comes to an end and it's a happy ending. But there's a problem with happy endings, which is what happens the next day? Like, what does it look like the day after the film ends? That's one of the things that some cultural theorists that I like listening to, they always ask the question, well, but what happens next? That would be the really interesting part. So I want to ask you this question this morning. Are we positioning ourselves and participating in the activities that would lead to bringing about the desired outcome? Are we participating presently in positioning ourselves in a way that would bring about what we say we want? Is it possible that our desire, whatever that is, and I think desires can be really good, but that our desire, let's say in this case for peace, has actually become a barrier, almost like a placeholder for the kind of activities or practices that would actually prepare us if we got what we said we wanted? I'll give you a bunch of examples. When I was a youth pastor, I was very aware that some of my young people, and specifically when they graduated out of the youth group and they became young adults in the college and career ministry, that they had a really beautiful desire to be in a healthy relationship. They wanted a romantic partner. But I was also very aware as a youth pastor that the way we teach our young people to be in relationships, what we put in front of them as whether it's on the screen or we model for them in our culture, is actually setting them up in one sense for failure. Because the way we do courtship or dating apps or whatever it is, and this is non-judgmental, I'm just saying that the way we practice for our healthy relationships actually stands in the way. It becomes a barrier at points to having a healthy relationship. Part of the way that we figured out to help our young people was to say to them, are you being the kind of person as a single that you can participate in a healthy relationship when you find that person? Or are you spending so much of your time now looking for that person that you're not going through the process of development, that when you actually get that person, maybe you're not going to be the fully developed version of yourself that would be great to be in a relationship with? See it in business, that people say, you know, if I ran this place, here's how it would go. And you almost want to say, I'm just going to go out on a limb here. Is there any chance that that's why you haven't been given more authority or more? But I'm guessing here. I'm just asking the question. Do you conduct yourself in your business in a way that is leading to people giving you more responsibility and more power? Right? I mean, that's part of the question that we ask corporately. I see it in our politics. That we say, oh, you know what? I'm tired of all this contention and this congressional gridlock, and I wish things were different. And then I want to say, are you willing to participate and to posture yourself in this moment of contention in our American politics? Are you willing to participate and to position yourself in a way that would bring about the outcome you say you're desiring? And let's be honest, the answer is no. No, here's what I want. I want the idiots on the other side to do it my way. Oh, okay. You just want to win. Yes, I want to win. I want it to be my way. Like, okay, I'm starting to see why we might have a problem with this compromise that we all say we need to move forward for the greater good. I can start to see why we're having problems. if people on both sides of the aisle think that the people on the other side of the aisle are idiots, and if they just did it the way they do it on your side of the aisle, the problem would be fixed. I'm getting some nods, and I really appreciate that, because I'm primarily preaching to myself this morning. So I'm also going to just add in that institutions are the same way. Institutions say they want something, and then you say, well, are we practicing, participating, posturing ourselves in such a way to bring that about, A? Or, and here's where it gets really weird, what if some magic, some divine something could just snap its finger and give you what you want? Would that fix the problem? One of the reasons I like watching shows like, The Biggest Loser or renovation shows on HGTV or whatever, I love watching shows where people say, I wish it was this way. And then the expert or the consultant has to say, okay, here's what it would take in order to get you there. And they say, well, that sounds hard. Yes, it is. And if I can just say, it's also why you don't have what you want yet, is because, for instance, if I said I want to lose 40 pounds by January, if some universe goodness could just snap its finger and I lose 40 pounds, but I don't change my diet or exercise habit, those 40 pounds will come back pretty fast. So we say peace, we want peace, or we want something right in our politics, or we want something in our business, or we want something in our finances or our relationships. And yet, we haven't always been encouraged to be the kind of people who take on a posture and develop a set of practices that would A, lead to the change we said we wanted, or B, would enable us to participate in the change once it came. So I've been thinking this year, what if we actually got peace? Peace on earth, goodwill towards all humankind. What if we got it? I'm afraid it might be the worst thing that could possibly happen. Because if we let the steam out, we release the tension, it actually might take from us the compulsion, the desire, the fuel it would take to be the kind of people that transformed the very systems that resulted in the conflict that breaks our heart. That we have, like we talked about last week, become the kind of people who participate in the thing that we're called to transform. There's a danger. So I just want to propose a path forward. I just want to put this forward for your consideration. And because I'm a preacher, I always have 3 points, and they always begin with the same letter. It's just, I don't know, it's just how it works. So here's my 3-point plan for the path forward. 1, to look at our posture. How do we, thank you, some of you are sitting up straighter, I appreciate that. How have we positioned ourselves in relation to the thing we say we want? Okay, that might be our finances, that might be our relationships, it might be our politics, but in this case, I'm talking about peace. We say we want peace. So how have we positioned ourselves, and what posture have we taken to be the kind of people, A, that bring about peace, and B, could live at peace once we got it? The second thing, what process are we envisioning that would A, lead to the desired outcome, and B, prepare us to live the day after peace, the day after we got what we wanted? Lastly, what practices, like activities that we do together or as individuals, what practices have we undertaken that are A, leading to the change, and B, helping us to prepare the ground for after the change comes. So what posture, what process are we envisioning, and what practices have we undertaken that would lead to the peace we say we want? I'm proposing that it is not enough for us to say peace, peace, when there is no peace. That it actually, and this is where it gets a little dangerous, that it actually has become a utopian distraction that we have allowed to become not just a placeholder where we say we want peace, but that has actually become a barrier to achieving the peace we say we want. Because if we're real honest with ourselves and with each other, we don't actually want to make the changes it would take to bring about peace. We just want to win and for the dummies to stop mucking it up for the rest of us. We don't want to do necessarily the thing that would bring about the reconciliation, the building of bridges, the community organizing. We just sort of wish it would happen, and then we wouldn't have to do anything different. It would just work somehow magically from now on. It's not just congregations, it's not just communities or elementary schools or service organizations. There's a corporate sort of a lack of imagination where we have allowed the perfect to become an obstacle or a barrier to the good. And by not investing in self-examination of our own postures and attitudes, our prejudices, by not having actual processes in place that lead us to the desired change, and by not participating in practices that bring that about, we sort of hold up the happy ending as a fantasy, a utopian fantasy. And that breaks my heart a little bit, that something so good like peace could actually become, in a sense, a barrier that keeps us from being the kind of people that could help bring about the peace we say we desire. Are you willing to make the changes it would take to bring about what you say you want? And I have to be real honest with you. I'm finding in my own heart, the answer is more often than not, no. I want to keep doing exactly what I've been doing. I just want it to work this time. I don't know if I'm willing to pay the price to make the changes to get what I say I want. I just want it. And that's humbling to me. And this Advent has been really challenging to me, that when we talk about hope in week 1, and we talk about peace in week 2, and we talk about joy and love in the coming weeks, have I taken on a posture and positioned myself towards my neighbor and towards my enemy in a way that would A, bring about the change I say I want, and B, help me to be the kind of person who could live in it once it got here? I don't know. Have I envisioned a process by which that change could come and which would allow me to enter into the day after differently? I don't know. What practices have I undertaken both with you corporately and as an individual, that have me working for the change that I want to see and which allow me to participate once that change gets here? Or have I just read the script one too many times, become a little too familiar with it, and allowed the daydream of the utopian happy ending to stand in the way of the actual tough work it would change to be a change agent and a bridge builder and an ambassador of reconciliation? So I'm encouraging you giving you permission, if you will, to not say the things that sometimes feel so good to say, like peace on earth, goodwill towards all. But instead to say, what posture do I need to change? What attitude? Adjustment? What process do I think could bring about that thing? And what practices could we do that would actually help this thing to change? So that next year at this time, when we say, this is what my heart wants, and this is what we are dreaming of as a community, that we are one step closer to being the kind of people who both are bringing that about and could live in that new day should it arrive. That would be a real gift.